Hey, everybody, Jim Cummings here. And if Tigger were here, he'd say, thanks, everybody, for bouncing on in here and enjoying the show. But before we go, I want you to do me a small favor. Hit like, subscribe, and give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying the show. Now, speaking of enjoying the show, enjoy the show.
Now, of course, you guys both worked on Christopher Robin, of course, Pooh and Tigger,
Yes, we
Eeyore.
did.
Yeah, yeah.
Were you guys ever in the studio together for that?
Never.
Never.
Jim doesn't allow that. I don't know if people know that about Jim. He goes, nobody over 5'8".
Well, you know,
And
well, you would come on and you were bone dry, and which was superb, and you were like the perfect Eeyore. And one of my favorite lines in the movie is Tigger comes on and he gets introduced or something, and he has to launch into the Tigger song.
Right.
And, you know, hoo, hoo. And you turn to the little girl, and he goes, he does that a lot. And it was like, boom. It was like, get that out of my neck. Okay, here we go.
Did you know
Now we
that
can
Jim
talk.
originally auditioned for Eeyore?
oh, I'm sure. And after that, I may lose it.
No,
Yeah,
but that's
funny.
true. That is true. You know,
When? At what point?
way back before.
Like before you even had Pooh or Tigger?
Yeah, before.
Really?
Well, you know, they said because Pooh was gone for, I think it won the Academy Award in '65, and then we started
Wow,
the
did it
series
really?
in '80. Yeah, for Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, Winnie the Pooh and the Day for Eeyore, and Winnie the Pooh. It was the three shorts.
Got it.
Because they made three shorts. They put them together to make it over. Then it was like 72 minutes put together. So then they could release it as a movie, which they did, and it won the animated Oscar for that year.
Wow.
Then they took 20 years off. You know, you win an Oscar. Okay, well, that's enough.
Wow.
But I was glad because it gave me a chance to grow up. And then I used that 20 years to get older.
Yeah.
And then I went and auditioned. I auditioned for Gopher, Pooh. I didn't feel good about Owl. I might have tried an Owl. But Pooh and Tigger. Anyway, I came home and I called my agent and I go, well, so what'd you audition for? Pooh, Tigger, blah, blah, blah. But I nailed Eeyore. I am Eeyore.
Really? Is that?
Yeah. And she says, you're kidding. I said, no.
But you had to know your Pooh was great. No?
But I thought it was okay. Wow. You know. And so she calls me up a week later, as they do, and she goes, and this is prior to you being Eeyore, obviously. Sure. But he says, well, I have bad news and I have good news. I said, give me the bad news. She goes, you're not Eeyore. And you got to be kidding me, I'm not Eeyore. What do you mean I'm not Eeyore? She goes, no, they gave it to Peter Cullen. And I go, oh, well. Yeah. You lose to Peter Cullen. You shut up and go, you know.
Of course, he's amazing.
Lick your wounds, you know.
Yeah.
She goes, however, you are Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. And I said,
Eeyore. You had a
Eeyore Schmeeore.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, wow.
And so
I did Eeyore. I auditioned for Eeyore in the '80s.
Yeah.
For a Valentine's Day special.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
On. And then I did like a couple games, and then things got busy in stand-up, and I was on the road, and there were a couple sessions I couldn't do, unfortunately. And then I think Cullen got back in.
Peter Cullen. Yeah,
but he was terrific.
Yeah.
But
Optimus Prime.
Yeah, Optimus
Transformers.
Prime. Yeah, he was incredible. I did one of the early Transformers on TV. When it went on TV, did you do it?
Yeah, I did a couple of them.
You did, yeah.
It was Afterburner.
You did Schleppy, I think. The Transformers Schleppy.
Schmegma.
Schmegma was one.
Schmegmazoid, sorry. Schmegmazoid. I always leave out the Zoid.
Sure. The Hasidic Transformer, Schmegmazoid. You're standing on my sideburn. Yes. Yeah. Oh, man.
Man, who has more fun than this?
Yeah, we're lucky people, aren't we? Doing what we love.
Yeah.
Right? We're very lucky. That's what I
always say. It's the stuff that used to get me kicked out of class.
Yes. Same.
You know?
Same here.
And did you know? I mean, I hope I didn't ask you this, but when did you know that you were going to? You know what I'm going to do? Sure. I'm going to grow up and I'm going to do this.
Well, I know it sounds like cliche or trite, but it seems like people. I was very odd. I know that's hard to believe. I know that's hard to believe.
Stop it.
Yes, give me a moment to smell my fingers.
Jesus.
Will you please?
All right.
Please. But I was like 6 feet at 13. I couldn't catch a ball. I couldn't throw. I couldn't make a layup. I looked like Liza Minnelli if she was put in a stretch machine. I had like short hair. I had dark circles under my eyes. I looked like when I was 4, like I saw pictures of when I was 4, I had these bags under my eyes. It looked like I was holding down 3 jobs as a 4-year-old. I always looked like I was, help me. So I was bullied all the time. And, people that knew me, they're like, you're a giant. Just close your eyes and swing. And I was bullied by teachers. This is how bad So I was like
teachers.
Yeah. So
the principal would stop by.
I'm telling you, oh, there he goes. Look at him swander down the hall. Because I had a little, I had a hump in those days. I was the only 13-year-old with a hump from slouching. But I used my humor to kind of, but my humor was kind of, a little abusive and zetsy because it would turn the attention onto the perpetrator. You know what I mean? But if you can make a bully laugh, and if people like, there's no way you could be bullied, you're a giant. But as we know, the bigger they are,
the harder they fall.
Thank you. And also, I was, how was your childhood? Did you have a good one? Did you ever get it? Yeah. So when you have parents that are kind of struggling to parent, you try to make them laugh because they're not happy. Mm-hmm. And, I had that a lot. Unfortunately, I bombed in front of my parents and they would boo, which was rough during Passover.
Yeah, yes.
It was just past the Harosis.
Yeah.
But I think that's where a lot of it was. And I found that was really the only thing I did that created, obviously, attention and stuff like that. But I knew early on, it's like when I started, and you probably ran into this, there were class clowns, but when you can make the teachers laugh, that was kind of where you go, wow, this is more than,
Yeah, well, I always wanted to be the class wit as opposed to class clown because we had a clown, and he would do tricks with his boogers. And I said, okay, he's the clown. Pippi Valerio is... Yeah. He's the clown.
What was his name?
Pippi Valerio.
No, it wasn't.
It was Pippi Valerio.
It was no one's named Pippi Valerio.
Valerio.
Oh, Valerio.
See, so now it makes sense.
Let me turn up the miracle here. You got me? Okay. Pippi Valerio.
Yeah, and he would make booger sculptures. So he won. He just won. I didn't want to compete. So I would say things,
amazing.
He would do things.
That's hysterical. Okay, that's kind of where I was stuck somewhere between Pippi and the class wit.
Okay.
I would, yes. I would force people to make booger sculptures. See, I was kind of I was the heavy. But that's a trip. Where did you grow up again?
Youngstown, Ohio.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, man.
Home of Boom Boom Mancini.
Yep.
Eddie O'Neill. And now me, I guess. So
and I think
it's a great place to be from.
Was discovered there.
Who was?
Chlamydia.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Great singer. Great singer.
Incredible stripper.
Yeah.
Her and charcuterie is going to be a jiggles if you can catch him.
Well, let's fast forward because we have to talk about Everybody Loves Raymond.
Sure.
So that's got to be a life-changing role.
You bet it was.
Most popular show on TV for years.
Still is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Still, I got lucky.
Yeah.
I got lucky. I auditioned for Raymond.
Well, they got lucky too, man. You knocked it out of the park.
That's
absolutely.
You crushed it.
Thank
you crushed it.
Thank you. I owe that to Ray and Phil Rosenthal, who ran the show.
And how many statues?
Well, they took 2 back because they caught me at the MGM and they went, he can't have those.
No, you crushed it.
Thank you. Again, amazing writing.
Yeah.
It all comes down to the writing. I think the ensemble was, we got lucky. You got Peter Boyle, you got, Doris Roberts, Patty Eaton, and Ray, who, what I do love about that man is he's so multi-talented. I mean, he finally directed, wrote, and starred in his movie about Queens, which was so, we always knew that he could definitely direct and of course write. But, so much comes down, to the writing. And, me and Ray, we were sitting there during like our first table read and we're going, I can't believe Peter Boyle is, playing our dad.
Yeah,
And Ray goes, I can. Yeah, he was young Frankenstein, and you're, But right away I was like, I'm going to love this guy. But he, the same humble, self-effacing dude that got the pilot. I mean, nothing changed him. He's a good guy, and we still have fun. And we knew how lucky we were, and I knew how lucky I was. I auditioned for it. I didn't have an agent at the time either, believe it or not. Yep.
Well, that's a showbiz miracle.
It was a miracle. I had a couple great managers at the time that really I said, I read the script and I just immediately knew a way to go with it. And that was a different way. Because, Ray's show, I mean, when he made the pilot, he was living across the street from his folks, right? His brother just moved home with his parents again from the NYPD after divorce. Ray was like, I can only write what I know, and this is my story.
Wow.
But Richard, who I played his brother, was a cop, obviously, and he was a shorter guy and kind of scrappy. They were thinking of like a Danny DeVito-ish type of guy that was always
who else
up
would they
in
get but
Ray's
you?
Thing. Again, I read, I came back, then I read for the network, but I just felt like, hey, what if we play this guy so beaten? He's come in second his whole life, And I had a little tidbit I would use at the beginning. I said, Ray was an only child, but they forgot to tell Robert. And it was like, this was something that kind of just stayed with me. And it was a fine line of playing beaten.
Had that
there's a lot of Eeyore in him, for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a way of playing beaten without always being the victim. And I love when they would write stories where Robert would have the upper hand, which was rare because he wanted the life that everyone around him had, and and Peter and Ray wanted to be that single guy out there, catching a robber and having a woman in the jacuzzi.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing I had over them that I could kind of use. But I just knew immediately who I felt, and I was worried because I was going a different way than what they wanted. They wanted like a real scrappy guy, and I said, can I try something? And they were open to it, and I got really lucky, man.
Wow.
You gotta be ready. It's like when I talk to young actors, you gotta be ready. Everyone wants an agent and a manager before they've developed their craft.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, don't you find that
true.
very, very different?
Yeah,
That's because of social media.
Yeah.
Everyone's a star. And everyone's on TikTok, and you have a million.
It's really weird nowadays.
And it's weird, and it's sad, and it has very little to do with honing your craft.
Yeah, and creates a lot of false hope, I think.
That's a great point.
Look how many likes I got.
Yeah.
Does that translate?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I remember a few years ago when social media blew up and the networks were getting, this person has, 4 million followers, and they give them a pilot and they wonder why they can't act.
Yeah.
And so it's it's sure different though.
Yeah, you go from 20 seconds to 20 minutes. It's a big jump.
It is a big jump.
What's fascinating to me is you did such a good job creating that character, Robert, that they brought him into other films and television shows, which I've never really seen. We were talking about it earlier, and the only other character I can think of who plays a character is like Ron Burgundy, Will Ferrell. They'll have him do little stand-up stuff. And what was that like? Where it's like, we want this character in this show or this movie.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do a lot of that, but
there was a few.
There was a little crossover. But the thing is after the show's over, they always want a type of guy like that because the business is it's like all these things that you've seen, all these reboots, none of them work. And they don't work because it's lightning in a bottle, as you know. When you have a show that clicks, and you can't get everybody back 30 years later and expect the magic. Because the magic was that time it was being done.
That's right.
And the synergy of those new writers. I mean, we had these writers that came from all, a lot of them were stand-ups. And they were just so incredibly funny. Where after every take, after every take, all the writers gather, the director, they go, let's try this. And these writers have 4, 5, 6 different, blows that we call it before, for the end of the scene or one-liners at which, and you're like, God, they're all good. So a lot of people have asked me, boy, there must have been a lot of improv in that show. There was really none. Because, no, there wasn't. I mean, we would once in a while try, but the writing was when it's that great, you don't dare improv because you got the gold.
Yeah.
Once in a while we'd putz around. Ray had a great way of coming up with different one-liners as they all did. But what's great is people thought it was a lot was improv because there was that chemistry with the cast. And, we were anyone could hit it over the fence, any one of those actors. And, what was great is it was really a support system. I know that sounds cliche. I mean, we were close. We were all very different people coming from very different avenues of the business, but there was a closeness about it, and that comes from the top. And
well, it sure worked.
Yeah, and
I'm really curious about one thing, and this is a little more personal question, so forgive me, but
you ask anything.
There was a point in time where you held out for a higher salary.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what specific moment triggers that where it's like, oh no, I'm not doing this anymore. I need to get paid more. Like, is there a specific moment? Like, do you find out like, oh, Ray's getting paid this, or like this show's so popular? Like, where's that moment in time where it's like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore unless you guys give me what I deserve.
Well, you got to be very, very, very careful. When you
take a stand, so to speak.
When you take a stand, and the stand I took was for the supporting cast. I was like, I'm either going to end up, a really ridiculous martyr, or they're going to see the difference. What Ray was making is a co-creator and the star, and that was, in those days that was unheard of. It's never been matched to this day for a sitcom.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and totally deserving. What I was looking for is, it was an ensemble. And there was a supporting cast. And I was, when I started, I was at the very bottom where I deserved it to be. I had approved. I didn't expect, to get what Peter and Doris were getting starting out. But after a certain amount of years and after it being a huge success,
and
I waited. I waited around, didn't seem like it was coming. And I said, I'm going to take a stand. And, you do it alone and you do it in a vacuum and it's very, very dicey.
Yeah.
Because everybody kind of like focuses on you then, right? And it's like, oh.
There's no question. But I knew.
And it takes a little gland.
It takes a little gland. And if I was on a drama, I would have been killed. But at the end of the day, I knew they weren't going to get rid of Ray's brother.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And whatever I would get, Peter and Doris would get. And we were all in it together.
Oh, good.
And then one day I find out they're back. They went back and they said, we got to go back. And I said, well, okay.
In other words, that made you the lone wolf?
I was the lone wolf in it. And everyone's like, dude, and I had, the network calling me. And they said, you're being written out of the show. And I said, God, I find that hard to believe, And they said,
yeah,
tell us right now.
Me too.
Do we write you out or are you coming back? And I said, well, I'm saying this with 100% gratitude. Write me out. And they did. And I dropped a little crab cake in my pants.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
There was one episode of the 211 I'm not in.
Wow.
And, yep.
One.
And you know what? It's okay. It's okay because everyone involved I knew got it. And I understood the fear. And I know where, Doris and Peter were. And they're like, we're a little up there. We're a little older.
Yeah, we're going to call.
We're going to call it. And I said, okay. And I mean, they called me and they go, honey, you're not in this. And I went, I get it. I get it. And but you know, at the end of the day, you're alone in it. You're
Yeah.
alone. At the end of the day, it's about everyone else, as it should be, and that's okay. And it was a real good business lesson, because I remember I got a call from Les Moonves, who was
he was
incredibly kind to the show, head of the network. He supported that show and believed in it. You know, when we were on Friday nights, we were getting killed. We were getting killed on Friday nights, and Les believed in the show. And he was great to everybody. And he says, I'm going to put you on after Cosby. And he did, before the,
Before everything.
Yes, before everything,
Sure.
including me doing him on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to put you, I believe in the show. And he put us on after Cosby. And of course, people saw it. And that was the thing. So everybody kind of stepped aside. And Les Moonves called me live from the U.S. Open.
Whoa.
And he goes, we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And this is after, and they were filming that episode. He goes, we got to figure this out. And I said, I'd love to. And he goes, this isn't looking good for you. And I said, I get it. I said, but if you look at what I'm asking for, and I know we're not going to close on that. I said, if you look at it and you take it over 9 years, and what I started at.
Yeah.
And he goes, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. And I said, we're not remotely near the lead money, nor should we be.
Yeah.
And I said, I think whatever I get, Doris and Peter should get. Well, they're already back. And I said, I know, but they deserve it.
Yeah.
They deserve it. And he was a mensch.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And, I was back. But it was, I won't lie to you. My dad, God rest his soul, was, death of a salesman, that was my father. He was in sales his whole life. His life was not great. His childhood sucked. He was in sales his whole life. And he said something to me because, what we are in is sales. We have to sell, except for you. We have to sell ourselves every day. You're sold.
No,
my friend. But we're constantly reselling.
That's right.
Right? We're I don't care, unless you're the big boys and women. You're constantly having to prove it.
Oh, absolutely.
And my dad said something I'll never forget in business when he was going through a tough time. He goes, in business, man, remember one thing, you got to know who's got who. And the key is to make a deal that works for everybody. And then when it works for everybody, it's a home run. But you got to know. And I remember when I was I was served legal papers because I was in breach for not showing up on the show. My dad was fighting cancer at the time. And I'll never forget, he was on his couch, sprawled out, really having a rough day. And I was sitting right on the floor next to him. And I was like, and he went, hang in there. Hang in there. It's going to work out. It's an amazing show. They're good people. They're going to do the right thing. And, where a lot of parents would say, you're never going to make this money again, go back. And he looked at me, a guy that worked 7 days a week his whole life. He said, wait it out. Wait it out.
Wow.
And I never, ever forgot that. And he was able to see it all work out.
Some sage advice.
But it was really cool, and I felt it could be a win-win. And CBS was great, and HBO, who was involved in it at the time, they were great. Ray was great. Letterman's company was great. A lot of people were involved. And, it's the way you do it. There's no reason for it to become an FU match.
Yeah.
You have to understand it is business.
Yeah.
It is the business of show.
It's not business.
Show.
Absolutely.
And I understood where they were coming from. And they were like, who were you before the show? And I said, absolutely. But
however,
the last 5 years, I think I've,
Yeah, you earned your stripes.
Yeah, but those days in TV are over. Totally over. It is now a very different game.
Yeah,
Sure
boy,
is.
it really is, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's nothing. Well, do they even? I mean, what's the latest big sitcom? I guess
We were talking about that not too long ago, and like it's
Theory was
Big Bang was
Big Bang
the last
Theory, like
huge
Modern
thing.
Family.
Modern Family.
And now I feel
Great
like
show.
the only real sitcoms per se left are like cartoon ones, like Family Guy.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
like
It's
The
one of
Simpsons.
it's one of the toughest genres, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think audiences have become so sophisticated because television is what film used to be, is, in my opinion, as far as the quality. I mean, some of the shows that are out today
oh my gosh,
are better than most of the stuff in the theater, because in TV, the streamers are now starting to leave the creatives alone. Here's the keys to the stage. Give us 8 episodes. Let me know if you need anything. So all the great creatives who are tired of being beaten up by the studios and noted to death, do this, do that, where you have attorneys and accountants giving notes on shows, those days are over. And now that's why you look at TV and you go, wow, look how amazing it can be.
Yeah,
when
what
people,
Kevin Costner's been making a pretty good splash out there.
No question.
Him and his cowboy hat.
Yeah, no question. I mean, look at the stars that are on TV: Carell and Aniston, and, and Reese Witherspoon and Laura Dern.
We were just talking about that show, 4 Seasons. Have you seen that show?
It's terrific.
Yeah,
terrific.
it really is.
It's
so well written, right?
So well done.
Yeah.
So well done. Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, now comes the time in the podcast. We're going to play a little game.
Oh God.
Are you up for it? It's a voice swap game. I'll explain it.
Yes.
I'll
I
explain
ain't
it.
going against this guy.
No,
It's
no,
not
no.
going against. It's not going against. So
No,
how it
it's
works,
there's no,
I gotta
no
keep
such
my
thing.
shirt on.
you got to keep your shirt on.
Oh, thank God.
Unfortunately, yes.
Thank God.
So how it works, Jim will say a line of one of his characters, one of his famous characters,
Yes.
in his character voice, and then you'll repeat that line, but in one of your character voices.
I only have 2 voiices.
So hey, let's do 2 then.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
So for
Small,
example,
medium, and large, right?
you know,
I mean, hey.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, well, all right. Well, I'll throw a little Darkwing Duck at you. Here we go. I am the terror that flaps in the night.
How about his bloat?
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Yes.
I'll tell you, I'm the terror that flaps in the night. Okay.
It gets no respect.
I'll
as a
tell you
result.
none at all. Are you kidding?
And then now,
You really do the face.
I know the face cracks
is
me
what
up.
the face is what's really puts it
I'll
over
tell
the
you,
top.
you're okay, all right?
You know,
I'll tell you, I went up to the bartender,
We see that with a lot of people when they do impressions. They really morph into the person. You
Yeah.
know, it's fascinating
Yes.
to watch. I mean, James Arnold Taylor, you know James Arnold Taylor.
Sure.
Man, his impressions, and he'll go through and like you just see the contortions in his face with every little character. Because he
Sure.
does this one man, 60-second little thing where he just goes from, character to actor to actor to actor.
amazing. It's
And he'll
amazing.
transition mid-sentence, and it's just fascinating. He was
Jim Carrey's thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
He's
absolutely.
just- gosh.
Okay, and now we'll do the
mutant
voice
boy.
swap backwards. So let's do a line as Eeyore and Pooh. How about that?
Okay. All right.
Eeyore and Pooh. Oh, okay.
Thanks for remembering me.
Thanks for remembering me and bringing the honey.
See, that's amazing. I hear you do that, and I go, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, he's comfort food for the soul.
He is, and we need it now more than ever, don't we?
Yeah. Oh,
Boy, more than ever.
what you say.
What has happened?
I don't know. There's too much bouncing.
Yeah, too much.
Too many bouncers.
And then I had one more written down.
Oh, yeah?
From the movie Planes, your character Chug.
Yeah.
And the
Again,
specific
bloat with wheels.
the specific line is
Yeah.
corn, it gives you gas.
Corn, it gives you gas.
Who's one of your characters who would say that? Who's a gaseous character? of you?
Taz.
Taz. Okay.
Oh, please.
Corn, it gives you gas.
Well, and that corn, it gives you gas.
Complete with. Lost a little air on that one. Sorry, gang.
How lucky is your grandkid?
Oh yeah.
Gonna be? I mean, I know you're.
Well, he's
is
just
he one?
No, God,
No, he's-
a couple months.
Oh, I
Not
didn't know
even.
that.
Not
Okay.
even. Yeah.
Because it's gonna be Grandpa
Yeah.
is Winnie the
Yeah.
Pooh, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have all these, and you're gonna be the fave.
There'll be a lot of.
And they're
pull
all
my finger.
worried. Yeah, sure.
It's gonna be a beautiful thing.
Taz. Who did Taz before you?
Mel Blanc.
Wow.
Mel Blanc. Yeah. He's.
I want to say something real quick because I know you've always been incredibly humble, and truly one of
part
the
of my
greats.
greatness.
Well, you know what it is. You know what it is, because we know the ones in town that don't have any of that, of that wonderful grace which you've always had. But when you came backstage, I'll say this real quickly, to the green room at the comedy club.
Sure.
And the comedian John DeCrosta was on the show, who has done some voice work and is really talented with dialogue. When you walked in and he knew you immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately, and he was like, "This." He goes, "This is one of the greatest nights for me." He goes, "Because this is my Mel Blanc," and he said that, and it's really, there's no question. No, it's true, and he got emotional. He's a great guy. He's a great stand-up. He's a funny actor, and but when you walked in, because I didn't want to tell him you, because I knew he knew you, and when you walked in, I watched his face. It was the guy with the crazy mustache.
Yeah.
That you go, the barbershop quartet rehearses in an hour.
Monopoly guy.
Yeah, the Monopoly, exactly. But it's just great to see the reaction of people when they know that, and it's you've been such a gift to so many of us, and always a mensch. And when I started out, you were in one of my first sessions that I think we did with Bill Kopp.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, Two Stupid Dogs. Or one of those.
Yep, and Eek the Cat. I think you were in there too.
Yeah, couple.
And
Could it have been Goof Troop?
What's that?
Yeah,
Goof Troop, possibly?
Goof Troop, I was in.
Yeah.
Were you in Goof Troop?
Yeah.
I played Tank.
Pete.
You were Pete in that.
And
Okay.
in the movie,
The
another Goofy movie.
I was Tank.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, and you were Pete, of course. But just thanks for being so great. On and off stage, man.
My God, thank you.
We love you. And a lot of people that knew I was doing this podcast are like, please tell Jim what he means to it, and everything. And it's very true, because I was brand new, and you were always so kind. And, you're nervous. You walk in around these legends, and you're, even though, we're in the same age-ish, you have heroes early on.
I'm much older than him, by the way, just
we'll see.
for the record.
We'll see later in the parking lot.
Yes.
But, so thanks for
thank
all
you,
that.
brother.
You
God
bet, man.
bless.
You bet. Thanks for
Well, that seems like a very natural end. Thank you
Brad
so
Garrett.
much.
How
Thank you
I feel.
so much.
How I
That was
feel.
great.
Thank you.
Craig Barrett, ladies and
Craig
gentlemen.
Barrett, baby.
I'll tell you.
He once said, that Jew is a tall drink of water. I could knock him out. I did it with Sammy, right, Smokey?
Oh,
Yeah. He called Sammy Smokey.
he did. Yeah,
He called
I know.
Sammy Smokey, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Smokey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'll just do a little outro here. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of Tuned In with Jim Cummings. Today we were joined by Brad Garrett. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Really appreciate it. If you're ever in Vegas, stop by Brad Garrett's Comedy Club over at the MGM.
Do it.
Here's
Come
the
check
food
it
court.
out. Come check it out. Absolutely. If you're a fan of this content, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm find you more videos like this. And if you like this content so much, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon, where you can find bonus content, additional interviews that nobody else gets to see, not even here on YouTube. You can even see a little bit of a pre-show credits, a little sneak peek behind the scenes.
One never knows.
If you want some merchandise, go to Jim Cummings Closet on Shopify. And I think that just about does it. We will
think
see
so.
you in the next one.
Thank you.
Oh, before I forget, do you have anything that you want to advertise or plug?
Not at all.
No?
No, it's all over.
All right.
Amazing.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Oh,
that was
thanks.
great.